for our friend Trent on this show, you won about the biggest tournament that you could possibly win.
In some circles, it's referred to as the 5th major. The John Deere Classic is just it's a big time tournament, and congratulations to you on winning it.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, I consider myself a major winner now.
Yep. Foreplay presented by Barstool Sports. We have a packed show today. We've got 2 guests. We got Allisen Corpuz, who just won the United States Women's Open at Pebble Beach. And then we got Sepp Straka, who just won the 5th major, Trent's tournament, the John Deere Classic. So we got 2 guests, and then we've got the Senate hearings, PGA Tour up there, getting grilled a little bit, making big time news, sort of transcending the world of golf to the point where the PGA Tour officials are sitting in front of the United States Senate answering questions about everything that's going on. So we got much to get to. The whole squad's back. We got Frankie, Trent, Dan, myself. Quick logistical administrative announcement, I guess. We're going to hold the Dave versus Jersey Jerry video. I know we hyped it up on the last show. Turns out the whole backstory and how that came to be is from the Ryder Cup. So we're going to wait till the Ryder Cup airs and people understand that backstory so we can include it in Foreplay Grudge Match. So nice little teaser. We kind of tickled your balls, and then we just left the room, and we left you that way. So sorry about that. No, it's not nice when somebody does that to anyone, and we just did it to all of you listening. So you're just going to have to wait, but hopefully we enticed you to subscribe, and you subscribed anyways, and we just get that. We get that subscription, but you don't get a video, which is unfortunate.
You're going to get a video eventually, just not as soon as you had hoped. It's still
you're going to get
out.
alerted. If you subscribe, you're going to get alerted when that video does come out.
That's right.
We're a Ponzi scheme. There's no videos. You just subscribe.
Right.
That'd be nice. That'd be easy.
Just a full-on Ponzi scheme. Yeah. Frankie Borelli is back on the show. Any parting thoughts for the wedding? We went over it for a good 15, 20 minutes on the last show. All positive because it was a positively great wedding. But do you have any thoughts?
I listened to it. You guys did a great recap. Thank you all for coming. Obviously, Danny was on the bachelor party. I'm glad to see you survive.
Barely.
Yeah, no, it's been a whirlwind of a week. It's definitely everything you hear about, where it's like it's just go time. It's a show. It's all eyes on you. Super nerve wracking. Standing, we did the whole church thing, and it was it's a beautiful church, and it feels like you're in a moment. And I'm like behind the altar in this room, and it's like I felt like I was stepping onto fucking like the biggest like concert stage of all time. Like I was like my heart is in my throat. The organ starts playing. It's go time. Like she's coming down that altar, and I'm going to start crying. That's the thing I was most nervous about. Is like how much I'm going to cry. I was more embarrassed than I was anything. So then at some point you just like let it go, and you're just like enjoy it. I told myself a million times that night to just enjoy it, and we did, man. We fucking tore the fucking roof off that place. Heritage Club, the Bethpage Black, everything was just so perfect. The weather was great, a little humid, but like all the forecast was supposed to be rain and thunderstorms, and it couldn't have went better. The photos, like it was a cloudy, like overcast day. The photos are insane because of that. They always say like if it's too bright, like you get all the shadows, you look fat. Just like everything was great. So super excited. Yeah, it's just weird having like a ring on my finger now. It's like very strange.
Oh, yeah. We're ring boys, dude.
Yeah, I can't get used to it. I almost have like physical anxiety of having it on my finger. I'm like something's constraining me.
I really like playing around with it because I'm like a fidgety person by nature. So I just kind of always have something now to just like usually I like massage my ears of the microphone. People can see on the YouTube. Yeah, now I just do it with my hand.
No, it was fucking great, man. I mean, I'd say we probably knocked it out of the park except for the fucking table numbers. She just, I'm not going to throw my wife under the bus, but she just fucked up, man. She fucked up the table numbers. It is what it is. And, Dave Portnoy, he's been so great to me. He's the reason why I'm here today. He's why I am who I am. And he gave us our greatest test as a married couple. Within 12 hours of being married, I wanted to end it. I wanted to end the marriage. It was over. We hated each other. Like, the next morning you wake up, husband and wife, you got all your family there, and I'm reading tweets that he couldn't see his table number. Everyone else was. Here's what happened. She got these table numbers, and they're like new school with like the script, and she's seen them on Pinterest and Brides of Long Island Facebook group, and everyone's getting them. The only problem is we dimly lit the entire room, and we did like uplighting on the sides. So this see-through table number with a white inscription on the front, doesn't work as well as it does on the website when you order them, where it's just this bright background. And then they were supposed to they had candles all over the tables. They were supposed to put a candle in front of them, because that discussion had come up amongst the people doing all the things and setting it up. But once they just, they're setting up the table, they just put them on the tables, and there was no thought to like lighting them up. So huge miss. I don't think it should have been that big of a talking point, but it ended up being one, because I think once you're at your table, you're just at your table. The rest of the night, it's fine. You're just there. You're not gonna get lost from there. There's only fucking 14 tables, but it's a huge miss. You got to be way better. Just throw a number. If I had I'm not throwing anyone under the bus, but if I had the reins on that one, I would have put a big old number in like a wood block there. But it is what it is.
It's just, you're not throwing anybody under the bus, but it's you or like someone else that could have been involved in the deciding.
No. Who could it be?
Whoever. Listen, I'm not sure. But yeah, if it was, for anybody who doesn't know, you just, when you're looking for your table, once you enter the reception area, you just couldn't read the table number.
The picture that Dave tweeted out is actually shocking. Because you think he tweeted out nothing. They're like, why did you tweet out? And then you have to look very closely and you can see the number 8, or it's
every single comment is like, I still don't see it.
It was crazy. It was crazy. I wish they would have put a candle next to it, because it would have just lit it up. But it's like, it is what it is. It should have been better. It was a miss for a purchase. But yeah, everything else I thought went well. The band was great. We lifted my dad up. He had no shirt on. The Islanders, they just ripped shirts off. It was crazy. I knew that was coming. I just felt it the whole night. At one point on the dance floor, Scotty Mayfield and Matt Martin were circling me like a shark, and I felt like I was in infested waters. And I made the executive decision to run up to Matt Martin, and I ripped his shirt off first. I started it because I knew it was coming to me. I ran up to him, I popped all his buttons, and then it was a war zone. It was like, we were looking around being like, who's next? Oh my God, there's just such funny all-time moments. Like one of my buddies, Rob, not Big Rob, but this other guy, Rob, he's standing there, he's trying to avoid getting his shirt ripped, and all of a sudden we get a hold of him, and he's like, it's a brand new shirt, and he's screaming, and we just pop all his buttons, and later on in the night we saw him like on the floor looking for his buttons, because he wanted like his wife to be able to sew them back on, because it was such an expensive shirt. It was like a fucking $300 college shirt. We just ripped it. He had bought it that morning.
Jesus.
Yeah, it was tough. So yeah, fun night. I appreciate everyone that came. Obviously, it was a great night, and just one for the books.
It was a great wedding. It was a very fun wedding. Thank I imagine now you guys gotta, you gotta regroup, right? I imagine after a wedding, there's probably a shit ton of stuff you still have to do.
Our house is a shit show right now. We got boxes and gifts from people, and just like all the stuff that we had at the wedding, like those table numbers are here, which I'll melt those in our fire pit in the backyard. I'll melt those fucking table numbers.
Chevy.com, baby. Yesterday, I guess 2 days ago, whenever we did the last show, went to Chevy.com. In the middle of the show, I went to Chevy.com /electric. Actually, I pulled up this Silverado EV, and I described how I was sitting in this valley between the mountains. I was sitting on like a little bit overgrown of grass, like rocky little road. And it just captured perfectly this marriage between Bowtie, Chevy, American, like history, trusted brand. And then it was like shining with the sun, and like the light colored rocks were reflecting off of this shining all electric Silverado. And I just thought, what an incredible marvel of humanity that we're able to create these phenomenal models that we've known forever. And then they're just all electric. It's actually amazing.
Yeah, Chevy's done a great job. They've packaged it well. It's just a good-looking car that also is an EV. That's where we're going. Chevy's on the forefront. They're the ones. I went and I looked at that picture that you were describing, and it's as beautiful as you painted it on the podcast.
It's like the car's like a mirror with like how beautifully it's reflecting everything. When researching cars, you go to Chevy.com /electric, utilize Chevy My Way vehicle specialist hosts will give you a virtual tour, help answer your questions. When you're ready, you're able to buy online by reviewing available EV inventory or build your own at participating dealers. Learn more at Chevy.com /electric. They're our presenting sponsor for the year. We love Chevy. They got beautiful vehicles that are now all electric. So again, go to Chevy.com /electric.
we're in. Sorry, my throat is just. The people are going to be crazy.
Well,
about
heads up for Sepp too. Sepp had a little something in his throat when we interviewed him. He just couldn't quite get through it either. So
yeah,
I'm through it now. Thank you. Yeah, we're just in thank you note phase. So things are kind of winding down. It's so funny how we think of thank you notes as like the most archaic, crazy, like our handwritten thank you note is like the most. It's the classiest thing to do, and it's so easy.
yeah.
It's like I've been dreading doing it so much. I'm like, oh, I got to do these thank you notes. I did 10 in like 8 minutes. Like you just write like a nice thing and then you just put a stamp on. And like we act like it's the most. I can't believe he went through all of the effort to write someone a thank you note. Like I think I might start doing handwritten thank you notes. It's so easy. It's so easy.
Well, it's easy. I mean, I'm not looking forward to it, but I am looking forward to saying thank you.
I don't think
to
anybody
people.
thought it was difficult, right?
Yeah,
like it's not, you just
like a high volume.
Yeah, I think it's just like tedious and annoying more than it's.
Well,
like
I'm saying like in a non-wedding capacity. Like I've gotten a couple of handwritten thank you notes or like congratulations or whatever, and they just hit so hard when you get one. And you always think like, wow, that guy is a freaking class act. He went out, got, you get nice stationery. Yeah. Like I think I should start doing the investment is not that high. And I think the reward for both is very, very high.
I've never written one of those in my life.
No, I haven't done that probably since like graduation, when I think like you get graduation gifts and you're like write a bunch of thank you notes. But I think, Dan, I get if you took 15 minutes a week and just wrote a handful of thank you notes, you're saying that your social reputation would go through the roof.
Through the roof. Like, so Kyle Porter, we played a round of golf last year at the Open, actually, at Ely together. And it was one of those like special, Scotland. We teed off at like 9 o'clock. I think it was Wednesday of the Open, and the sun was setting. We finished in it was just a great day, and it was a great day. And then I like kind of forgot about it. I forgot about it, but it's just we're lucky. We have a lot of great days. Like it was really fun. And then in the mail, like 2 weeks later, I got a handwritten thank you note or not thank you note even. I got a handwritten note from Kyle Porter telling me how much fun he had, how much he respects like me as a person, and like what I'm doing.
Come on,
and like. Kyle Porter is just like in my head now. I mean, I haven't even I never tweeted this or anything because it was just like one thing to another, but we're talking about it naturally now. Is like the classiest guy of all time. And it took, it probably took him like not that long, but it was just such a nice thing to do. Yeah. Don't sleep on the handwritten note.
Unfortunately, I wish I have to. I hope that all the people that I now write these thank you notes to aren't listening to this podcast and be like, "Well, you just did that." So, like, that's not.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
you get exposed.
Yeah.
See right through you.
My handwriting stinks. I don't think I could ever do it. My handwriting's so bad that it's like they'd be like, "Why did this kindergartner send me a note?" And so it would take all of the magic out of it.
All right, Trent. So we really got a good chuckle at Trent's card.
I'm sure
he didn't even write like love or like from. He literally on the bottom just wrote Trent. It was one of the best. It was one of the best cards that we got. It was just all it said was just Trent on the bottom.
It's one of those moments where people feel like it's their time to write something like nice and sweet. I go the other way. I just go like, this is who this is from, and I was there and I had a good time.
Shout out to Riggs gave me a fucking hell of a card. It was a Hogwarts card. It said like your journey awaits or your journey begins, and you opened it up in all these different ways, almost like the Marauders map in Harry Potter, where like each little area that you opened up had another inscription. It was fucking wild. That I don't know where the hell you got that thing.
I was texting with Frankie on Sunday, and I was like, dude, it was like hard for me to part ways with that card. I almost had to go buy
the most impressive card I'd ever seen. It really just hit every single base as you possibly do.
It was a cool card. It was a very cool card.
And the last thing I'll say is we did it at Bethpage, and I was just telling you guys this before the show. We were at Bethpage Black, and we had like 2 to 3 hours in between, which is a weird thing for people out of state. I feel like a very Long Island wedding thing to do is like you have the church reception early in the day on the weekend because they have mass at like 4 and 5 o'clock. So you can't really get it close to the actual venue time. But then everyone will go home, get changed, wind down, get the kids to their whatever, because the kids usually come to the church. They'll get their kids to their grandmother's house. You have like a 3-4 hour window where you can like get ready for the night. So I feel like when Dave was texting me about it, being like, am I reading this right? That there's like 4 hours or 5 hours in between. I was like, yeah, it's bizarre for people coming from out of town.
It tripped
especially
us
if you're
up
not
a bit.
staying. If you're not staying in a hotel, like Tommy Smokes and Rudy were coming from the city. It's like, it's a lot. They didn't have like a place to go, but I heard you guys all got it squared away. You went to the bar. It actually ends up making it a whole day thing.
It's fun.
Totally. It was nice because we got like we spoke about it a little bit, but it's like seeing Tommy and Rudy and Kevin and Bobby Fox, and like we all just went and had a drink together for 2 or 3 hours. Actually, really nice.
So we get there to Bethpage. We do all of our photos. We're like in the little rooms. We're having drinks. I was finally allowed to drink. I was put on a drink limit because of what I did at my engagement party. I got carried out of my engagement party. So
for me, it was impossible to get drunk at the wedding because of adrenaling. Like no matter how much you drank.
Yeah. No, we definitely started to get drunk at the end. But the beginning, it was like I had like my own boys like watching me. Like they're like, hey, your wife like put this limit on you. We just got to watch you. So we get there early, and Bethpage Black is notorious for like 6-hour rounds. It's fucking packed. They got tee times every 12 minutes, whatever it is, and they're never stop. It's a factory of public golf. People fly in from all around the world to play this place. We get there around 4:30, like to the first tee, 5 o'clock time. Not a single person on the first tee at the Bethpage Black. All of a sudden we walk down there and we're like, let's just go do photos on the first tee. Usually do it on like the putting green. Usually you'll do it like by the green course because it kind of looks like the Black. I'm like, I'm going up to the first tee. This is the fucking right. This is my golf course. This is the Ryder Cup. This is PGA Championship. This is a US Open, Tiger Woods, the whole deal. Brooks Koepka, are you kidding me? This is my baby. So we go up there and I'm like, does anyone have a driver? And the bridal attendant, this lady, this angel Janet, goes, I think one of the guys in the office is a golfer. So she runs back, and I shit you not, she pulls out a lefty stealth driver from this office. This guy, Dominic, who we had worked with when we were setting up the wedding, is a big golfer. We had talked golf like every time we went there to pick out the menu and all this stuff. And I never knew in a million years that he was a lefty. I never knew in a million years he was a TaylorMade guy. And all of a sudden she comes out because I'm thinking like she called it like a Big Bertha at one point, and I'm like, oh, it's gonna be tough. Like my wedding day, I'm not gonna be able to. She comes out and she goes, is this the one? She thought like the Big Bertha because she's like an older lady. She thought the Big Bertha was just like the name of of all driver. So she's like, she comes up to me and she's like, here, is this one good enough? I'm like, it's a lefty stealth. It's a lefty fucking stealth.
We can't get you lefty equipment where places that we go. Like we can't find that shit anywhere.
I'm on the tee box and they're like, all right, take a photo. We didn't know what to do with Hannah. So she's like doing like the Fore sign. We had no idea what to do. She's like standing there and everyone's like, you have to hit the fairway. And my first swing ever with a ring on, which is weird because I'm a lefty. The ring is on the left finger. Your finger's literally on the ring. So I'm standing there complaining. Everyone's like booing me. They're like, stop complaining. And now I've got like the tight suit with the suspenders. I'm like, I'm going to miss this golf ball. That was probably the most pressure I've ever had on a first tee in my entire life.
Yeah.
And I just swung as smooth and slow as I can. And I just hit the left side of the fairway with a perfect look to make a birdie on that first hole. I mean, I'm telling you, I had 135 yards looking into the first hole because I was on that nice left side, perfect angle into the first green. Oh my God. Just a really great moment.
You got a wedge in there, buddy?
Yeah.
I
wanted to finish the hole, dude. I wanted to finish the hole so bad. But yeah, just a really weird, like someone looking down on you experience that no one was out there. Like there's no tee times at 4:30 at the Bethpage Black. Like my buddy just played last week and he teed off at 6:05. How was there not a single person on the first tee at Bethpage Black on a Saturday in July?
It's a really good omen for a great marriage. We have a concept in Judaism. I don't know if it's a thing like called kismet, where it's like basically like everything is aligned, like the cosmic sort of things just were right. You said there were supposed to be thunderstorms that day. There were no thunderstorms. You said, you're on Bethpage Black. There was no one there. You don't have a driver. A lefty stealth comes out. Like you haven't warmed up or anything. And you hit the left side of the fairway. Like it's kismet. It's just kismet. Like it was meant to be.
Funny you say that because we woke up a Jewish couple. I have a little story about this.
You're Jewish now?
Yeah, because in our hotel room, we woke up to when we got back to the hotel that night, there was a bottle of champagne and chocolate covered strawberries, and it says it said Mazel Tov Greenbergs. It said is what it said on it. So they brought it to the wrong table. They brought it to the wrong room.
A lot of weddings.
We woke up
Greenbergs.
We woke up a Jewish couple, which I did not know that happens when you get married, but it just did. So
I think that's
oh my
smart,
God,
dude. Cover as many gates to heaven as you can possibly cover,
brother.
Just
If you don't think me and like her whole family, like they were calling us the Greenbergs all weekend. It's been like it's a forever joke now that we just woke up a Jewish couple. No, we're covering all our bases. We're living now. The gates of heaven just opened up way wider.
That's what I'm saying. You had like just the percentages are getting higher. If you die and it turns out that like the Jewish God was the right one, you're like, we're perfect.
Well, the funniest part is that the Greenbergs,
we don't really believe in heaven, but we'll let it slide.
The real Greenbergs got a Borelli sign, and they're like, "What the hell happened here?" They thought they were getting whacked. They're lucky they didn't wake up with a horse in their freaking
doing a fire alarm in my building right now.
You got a fire alarm going on? That's the opposite of Kismet.
That's the opposite of Kismet. You guys go on. I think it's just like 5 minutes. I think it's a fire drill.
I will say, the most impressive thing that I saw with the swing was the clothes you were wearing. Those clothes are tight. Like, dress clothes in general are just tight. And if I had to swing in my dress clothes, I think I would be naked by the end of it. Like it would all just rip off of me like the Hulk. Like it would. Yeah. No, I was impressed by that whole ordeal, and the pictures were insane.
I'll have to take the ring off when I golf. I don't know how any lefty would ever be able to play golf with a ring on. It's
I think
physically impossible.
Even for me, I take it off. I feel like most guys like take it off or get one of those silicone ones. You know,
I see a lot of the rubber ones.
Yeah, that's when. I don't know if there's the black, like the black ones that go around.
Yep.
But I feel like at that point, then that's too much work to be switching. So then at that point, that's just your wedding ring is that black one. And I like the ring. Like I like having the nice ring on my finger.
You do like it. Cause it's the woman's is far more important than the male's. Cause the woman's has a big diamond in it. A guy's, I feel like they kind of throw them around. They kind of go through the wash. They do whatever.
I don't know. I'm getting like a little more like Brooklyn. Like I'm liking jewelry. I'm about to get another tattoo. Like I'm thinking I'm like liking. I'm like liking it.
You got to get out of there.
I really do need to get out of here.
You are moving at some point, no?
Yeah, we're moving. It's looking probably sooner than we initially hoped. Emma's job situation is still kind of up in the air. So, man, I'm so ready to get out of here. It's crazy. Coming back from Colombia, I said to the boys, I was like, because you're leaving a foreign country and like a super debaucherous weekend, and you're like, I was like, I'm stressed about going back to New York. Like I have New York scaries. Right. Coming back to this city just stresses me the fuck out.
Right, you're not going out to like a farm with a huge pasture. You're going into the teeth
even
of
like
Brooklyn.
Or even like a house on Long Island where I can like go outside. Like the lack of outdoor space is really starting to kill me. Yeah. Like we have a nice apartment. It's a really nice apartment. Like I'm very lucky, all that stuff. I look at my 65-pound dog on the couch just staring out the window all day, and it's 98 degrees outside, so I like kind of don't want to go outside, but I want to go outside for a second, and it smells like ass. And I've been here for so long, and there's construction all around the street. I can't go to any good restaurants because they're all fucking booked months in advance. And it's like, what am I doing?
Yeah,
I gotta get out of here. And I think it's fun when you're single, when you're when you're young, when you're living with your buddies. But like, obviously, I'm past that point in my life now, and the city has zero appeal for me. 0.0.
Yeah.
Having space definitely is just like what life is all about. Everyone just tries to acquire more space.
Not for generations, for thousands of years.
Just
the
more
rich
space.
People wanted space.
Yep. That's all you want. Like, and I'm getting fucking old now at this point, obviously getting married and shit, but like I enjoy having the backyard, and like we have like landscapers planting like tomorrow, and like I've been enjoying picking out like what all that stuff's going to be, because I'm going to go outside and enjoy actual nature, like looking at flowers and plants. It's so fucking stupid, but like you when I was in the city with my buddies, like you're in a shoebox, you're looking at white walls, you're looking at concrete buildings, and that's like appealing and fun for like a Tommy Smokes who's like one with the city right now. He's running around, he's in West Village, he's living life, he's with friends, he's getting girls, he's all that stuff. Like that's amazing, but at some point you just need to be able to walk into your backyard and be like, and like breathe air. You need to be able to breathe air no matter where you are, no matter what it looks like. You need to be able to breathe.
Yeah, and it's especially now, it's like July in the city, which is just the worst time, and so it's so hot, and it's so like the heat just stays. It's for me, it's like it's the like Sunday morning. I just woke up, maybe a little hungover, but not even really like a hungover situation. Like I just want to have like a pair of sweats on and like open the door and like have my dog walk outside.
Yeah.
Like I have to put the fucking harness on him, and then like he doesn't walk very well because we got him when he was 5 years old and he's like a street dog. Sorry, buddy, I didn't mean that personally.
Yeah,
but
come on,
he can hear. No, he's an absolute prince, but. And it's just like having to like be really cognizant of holding him tight. It's just way too much work. Riggs, for the last 5 minutes, I don't know if you can hear us. I've just been shitting on New York City and talking about how much I can't wait to get out. He still can't hear us, but yeah. So that was a long-winded answer of saying yes, we're moving. Really looking forward to it. Yeah.
All right, I know you're out there. You like to play golf. You're listening to this podcast, so clearly you like to play golf. You don't want to play alone. Sometimes you have to, or sometimes you do have a foursome and you're having your own little match, but you got your buddies back home. They've been chirping. I'm back. My game's red hot. I'm working on this new move. And you want to have a match with your buddies. They're in a different state or they're on vacation or whatever. Our friends at the Links Golf app have figured it out. They've got basically, they're calling it the first ever app of its kind that offers real golf leagues from your phone. It's fantasy golf, fantasy sports meets reality. For a limited time, you get full free access. It's great for all golfers, no matter your level. They do normalized scoring. So you go out, you play, you post your score afterwards, and then based on the rating and the slope and all that fun stuff, it adjusts, and then you can have a match or a game or whatever, a league with anyone, anywhere.
It's a really cool idea. It's a really cool idea. I living in New York City, you got friends all over the country. You wish you could play golf. There's nothing better than golf trips, playing matches together, death matches. Now you can do it wherever.
And the best part too is you can play with the pro athletes, YouTube golfers like us. You can connect on there and form matches, form leagues, keep the standings, all of that. Links Golf apps made it easy for golfers who have never been able to play in a competitive league at local course, because they can now play their own time from separate courses. You got a whole week, so you got 7 days to upload the scores and have that match. Founder of Links Golf app played a public course in Pennsylvania versus his friend who played Old Head during his trip to Ireland, which I heard is phenomenal. So you don't have to play versus your friend at the exact same time. You got 7 days, like I said. You don't have to use the app when you're playing. I know some people get annoyed using their phone, whatever. You can upload all of it afterwards, post your scorecard, and you're good to go. So go download Links Golf app on the App Store or Google Play to set up a league. Start playing for this golf season. For more information, go to www.linksgolfapp.com. Go download the Links Golf app today.
Let's get into what happened yesterday in the world of golf.
Hello, everyone.
Oh, you're back.
Can you guys hear that alarm?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, yes.
So it's a test. I obviously didn't read the emails, and they're just doing a test, but that doesn't really help me because of that.
That's chaos.
Damn, that's loud. That's got to be loud.
You're definitely going to be alerted if there's a fire. Like, you're not going to be.
I think it works. Like, you should be able to work.
Unsure of the situation, but you guys can speak, and I'm going to listen, and then it's going to be hard for me not to talk because I have a lot to say about this, but hopefully this just ends soon. So,
Dan, why don't you set the stage and give your thoughts on what happened?
Yeah, Riggs, I don't want to debate. I'm a little too tired. But I will say that I thought your rant was obviously very good. Like it was great content. I disagree with the thesis. We'll get to that in a second. Yeah, I mean, the Senate hearing yesterday, I don't think that the hearing itself really taught us that much. It was more the documents that came out like while the hearing was happening that I thought was really enlightening. You know, showing all of these communications, how this deal really came to be. And, you know, my biggest takeaway it was, first of all, it was so premature for this to even happen. Like Ron Johnson said on this podcast, they just don't know what's going to happen. It also means nothing without Yasser. Like he right. needs to be there, like, because he is the most important person in the future of this company. And they can ask the PGA Tour execs about, you know, who's going to have control on the board, and the PGA Tour are going to say what the PGA Tour are going to say. But without Yasser there saying, yeah, that's actually true, and especially with all these reports that he's kind of parading around LIV saying, this is my baby, you know, I'm in control. Like, we need to see the four of those people, or three people, like those two guys who were at the hearing and Yasser. Like there needs to be all of them answering the tough questions, because CNBC was not, it was a softball segment, as we saw in the documents that came out. So without Yasser there, I just felt like it didn't really have any teeth. I did think that the communications were very, very interesting. There's obviously a lot of proposals. I've made videos of this about the Tiger and Rory, which is never going to happen. These are just proposals. The biggest takeaway for me was that we think that a show like Succession is like a joke, where it's like, it can't, a deal of this magnitude can't possibly be just two guys like texting each other and being like, sorry, like I was on the phone. Like you'd think that it's like going through all these official channels and they're writing all these emails, and it's literally Jimmy Dunn having Yasir saved in his phone as Yesir Golf, Yesir Golf, texting and being like, hey, you free for a call? And Yasir's like, yeah, I'm free now. And then Jimmy Dunn responds like 4 hours later being like, sorry, I was playing golf. Like, it's just two guys who are just talking to each other.
Yeah, my fire alarm finally went off, which is nice. See, I mean, obviously we're going to talk a lot about it, but to me, like, that stuff was how everybody communicates and how everybody talks and how everybody discusses things and how everybody like reaches out to other people. So I thought sort of the opposite, in that like all that stuff that people were kind of going crazy about, and like Rory and Tiger and they're going to play in 10 events. Like, dude, that's how you negotiate. You lead with fucking everything. You want the world. You want the moon. You want the stars. You want an Augusta National membership. If you're going to negotiate and you're going to lead with like, this is what we want, you lead with the most aggressive thing you can imagine. And then you settle with like something okay. It's like if we're negotiating like a contract with Barstool, it's like, I want $100 million a year, and I want a private jet to every single time that I go to work. And they're like, how about we'll give you $50K a year and we'll like cover your lunch once a week? And you're like, great, I'll take it. That's how negotiating is. So it's like everyone's going crazy over that shit. I was like, none of that stuff's real. Like, that stuff's completely meaningless. Who cares about any of that?
I love it though. It's great to see, because the reason I love it is because you never get to see those negotiations, really. Like when those happen for a contract, or they happen in these companies, huge companies are making deals with each other all over the place, but you rarely see it fleshed out in the public. And it's actually very entertaining to see, what did they think would be the moonshot? Like, what if they could have everything they wanted, what would it be? I find that to be incredibly entertaining.
Yeah, it was sort of like, oh my God, I just had a Tiger Woods moment.
You blanked.
Completely forgot what I was going to say.
That's all right.
Oh.
Yeah,
Succession.
no.
I was talking about how it's great to see
Try to trigger
moonshots.
Dan's brain. Let's try to
Was it
trigger
kind of
Dan's
like-
brain.
Got it.
Something
It was sort of
like
like
Jewish ceremony.
It was sort of like watching like a incredibly well researched documentary about what's happening, like in real time.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Whereas like it would be like if somehow 2 years down the road, Netflix opened up they did all this reporting and you got to see like how it happened, and you were just reading it while it's really, people don't have time to go through 250 pages of golf documents like I do, but I would encourage people to read it, because like you're saying, just from it's a unique real-time look into, because it's the negotiation is ongoing. I mean, it's very much ongoing. It's like one of the biggest deals definitely in sports history, and it's unfolding right. There's no secrets. Like, it's unfolding right in front of our eyes.
Right.
So I obviously put out my kind of synopsis. I was on Toronto radio this morning at 5:30 a.m. my time, going over it for like a half hour, little CNBC. So I've been talking about this stuff a lot, which I enjoy this stuff. That's when I was telling you guys, like, I'm going to interview Senator Johnson by myself, because I just love this shit. It's fun. It's a mix of like two worlds that I love to follow. My basic synopsis was like, I get that it's premature, which it is, right? The only thing that they've said is that we have agreed to try to agree. That's literally what they've come up with at this point. And the reason that they did that and they rushed everything out hastily was to drop all the lawsuits. The LIV lawsuits were bleeding the PGA Tour dry. They're spending tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars just on legal fees and lawsuits that they can't sustain. And then the other thing is that LIV's peeling off player after player. Even they said yesterday, if it's 5 players a year, we get 4 or 5 years down the road, we've lost our players. Like, we just don't have a product. We've lost all of our tours. So we were in a position where if we had an opportunity to cut a deal that's going to allow us to continue as the PGA Tour, continue to raise money for charity, continue to hold our events, continue to have power, we had to take that deal and do that. And the issue with that is obviously the Saudi control, the Saudi involvement. Everybody gets that. And the fact that Saudi Arabia is bad. We've talked so much about that on this show. Their history, human rights violations, atrocities, and all of that stuff has happened very, very recently. That's not like that happened 100 years ago. That happens all the time recently. So allowing them to come in, sports washing, whatever you might believe their intentions are, and have such a powerful seat at the table is concerning. It's concerning for the fact that they're not necessarily historically great people with great intentions that are going to uphold the same things in our society and our culture that we like to uphold. So we need to be incredibly concerned about that, which was largely the point of Senator Blumenthal, whereas Senator Johnson kind of had the point of like, this is a free enterprise, free society in terms of capitalism. You're allowed to do a deal with other people. You're allowed to come up with that deal on your own without the government being involved. And let's just wait until they actually come up with a deal. And then we can actually break it all down, which is kind of, at the end of the day, what's going to happen and what probably should happen. And they are a little bit unfortunate in the situation, the PGA Tour and the PIF, because they're having to try to come up with negotiations in an incredibly public forum, which is very difficult. The public is judging every move that the tour makes and the moves that the Saudis make, when in reality they should probably be in like private rooms, hash it out, and then present a deal to everyone, which is a very fair point, I thought, as well.
Yeah, it's going to impact it's going to impact the way you negotiate when you know that the entire public is going to see it. Like, it's not a normal negotiation. So I think that's a really good point. Riggs, I did disagree a little bit with what you were saying that like this is happening more or less because the PGA Tour like was arrogant. I think this is happening in every sport. I don't think that this, they're picking up off soccer players. Obviously, the PGA Tour is a little bit of a unique situation because they're like overtaking sort of the league. But I don't think that just because the tour had like kind of a restrictive media policy, or is why this is happening. For me, it's like this is a unprecedented dynamic that we have a sovereign wealth fund that has decided that sports is what they want to get into, and they're not profit really motivated. Like this is not a normal like, oh, this business was not doing well, so another business came in and did it better. And that's one of the things that Jimmy Dunn said, which I thought was really interesting. He's like, it's not like LIV is like a better product than the PGA Tour. We're just dealing with this dynamic where it's like you're playing against someone who's like a different set of rules. You know what I mean? Like they're not bound by the same business constraints that every other league or every other business entity, they're talking about like, could you get alternative sources of funding from other places? It's like, yeah, we probably could, but like, would they want to do that? Are they willing to just pour billions of dollars into it right away? There's never been an investor in sports like this, and we're seeing it in soccer, and we're seeing it. They're about to take over tennis. I've talked about this a lot on this show. Tennis is ripe for the taking. It's the same situation where the only 4 events that anyone really cares about are not run by the ATP Tour, and the players, Nick Kyrgios was like, sign me the fuck up. Like, it's going to happen in all these different sports, and I just don't think that it's like a PGA Tour specific problem. I think golf, because there's no owners that could vote no, because obviously the kind of weird nonprofit stuff was constricting the tour a little bit. And yes, definitely some mismanagement. But I don't think that the primary reason that the PGA Tour is facing this threat is because of like their own doing, if that makes sense.
I don't think it's the primary reason they're facing the threat. I think it's the primary reason that the threat was able to become unbelievably successful. I think that the tour, and when I say they acted incredibly arrogantly for 25 years, and I got a ton of messages from incredibly influential media figures, tournament chairs, everyone that deals with the PGA Tour and has dealt with the PGA Tour for 10, 20, 30, 40 years.
By the way, I agree with you on this point. Like
PGA Tour had a golden ticket for 25 years. And that golden ticket was Tiger Woods. And that allowed them to say, we have the biggest athlete, the most popular athlete on planet Earth. You will play by our rules. Otherwise, you will not be able to cover it. Or if you want to pour money into golf, this is the only way to do it. This is the PGA Tour, and this is what you're going to do. You're going to play by our rules. If you, the tournament, want to continue to hold a tournament, you want to have this sponsor of the PGA Tour, this is going to be your date. This is when you're going to do it, and this is what your purse is going to be. And people for years and years and years were not allowed to, in any way, create flexibility, growth, be creative in the media front, in running tournament front. If you even look at when Tiger and Phil did the match in 2018, why the fuck did they play for a random number of 9 million and not the 10 million or 15 million that they wanted? Is because the PGA Tour said, fuck you guys. If you guys want this waiver to be able to broadcast you guys playing golf on TV, you cannot play for the same number that we play in the FedEx Cup. That stuff, imagine to get to that point, how much just all of those conversations piss off Tiger's team, piss off Phil's team, piss off everybody. And that for years and years and years and years is how the tour operated in every realm. It's not just with media. It's not just that they wouldn't let us film videos or put stuff out. They pissed off all the media. They pissed off everyone. So then Yasser comes along with $600 billion. He clearly sees that there is some dissent among players. He talked to Phil. He talks to these different players. He talks to different entities in media. He talks to different people that run tournaments. And they were able to basically find, in a very easy way, a way to utilize that leverage to, yes, every sport, I understand, is seeing threats, but to get a seat at the table that is as powerful as the one that they've gotten, in my opinion, and in many people's opinion, the tour, if they had operated with more foresight and not more rearview mirror, being like, well, now we're in this position, what can we do? We had no choice. If they would have operated, in my opinion, and again, in a lot of people's opinion, in a way that had more foresight, didn't think that they were completely invincible, didn't act arrogantly where they believed they were the only top dog, no one was ever going to come along and no one could ever penetrate them, they wouldn't have had to give up as much as they're giving up. They would not have had to embarrass the fuck out of themselves and invoke 9/11 families and then have to turn around and sit on TV on CNBC with the same guys that they said are horrific and are potentially involved in or responsible for 9/11. They wouldn't have had to do all those things that made Jay Monahan become the least popular person on planet Earth. And so my point is not that they're the only entity facing this threat or that there was a way for them to avoid facing this threat. The Saudis were coming. They were going to get involved. There's been tournaments over there for years and years. But I think that they got completely outmaneuvered for a lot of reasons. And I think that's the main reason, to a point where Yasser Al-Rumayyan, like you said, is now going to be the most powerful person in the world of golf. That is an insane concession and very different than Newcastle United having one team. Like, that's not the same as dominating all of soccer.
But I don't think that the reason that they are only, going after that, they're only a part of the existing ecosystem in soccer versus taking over. I don't think that's because the Premier League is better managed than the PGA Tour. It's like golf is a unique. There's only 200 players. There's no ownership groups. They have this weird structure. It's like a very unique. And I guess you could say that, to your point, like they could have changed that structure and they could have been more like lean on their feet from a business sense. But I just don't think that the arrogance, which I agree, I don't disagree on that point at all. I think that, when you're the only show in town, you can do whatever you want, and there's no the motivation to innovate is extremely low when there's no pressure on you.
What I would say is,
I just don't think that it's. I think it kind of comes down to the at the end of the day, they had all this fucking money that they wanted to pump in. So the error was in this initial response to the Saudis. I don't think that the error is like a 20-year thing.
But I think that initial response comes from arrogant organization that believes it's impenetrable, that a little over a year ago at the Players' Championship, where Jay Monahan was taking a victory lap about how they defeated and thwarted this threat, and how incorrect and arrogant was that. That is arrogance that led to a point where they said no. They didn't go to the negotiating table in any way. I think that everyone now knows, and when things come out more and more, will realize that the tour had an opportunity at the beginning of all of this to give up much, much, much less that the Saudis would have been happy with, I think, at the time. And instead, because of the way I think that was like systemic over 10 or 20 years that they operated, believing that they were untouchable, led to them having to now sit in front of the Senate and essentially say, poor us, we had no choice. What were we supposed to do? That's why we're giving all of golf to the Saudis. And I think that it's going to become clear through history, through as more and more things get revealed, that yes, they could have operated in a way where the Saudis are going to be involved in golf. There's no doubt about that. You got all that money, you're going to be, but not to give up as much control as they're going to have to give up. That guy's going to be the most powerful person in the world of golf overnight, basically.
So you think that had they initiated conversations earlier, that Yasir, who's asking for everything and clear, you think he's only doing this because they spurned him in the beginning?
No, not spurned. I think he's the way that the whole thing has gone down, he has been able to create much, much, much more leverage than he had a year and a half ago. And when you have that much more leverage, now the tour agrees to come to a deal, you're able to get much more out of that deal than he would have gotten a year and a half ago, where they could have thwarted an existential threat, come up with some sort of deal, some sort of agreement. And if you look at what LIV has outlined, they said by 2024 that they thought like they would get to this point. They're a year early on that. And so like they're ahead of schedule by the way that they had structured things out and laid things out as to their basically takeover partnership with the tour, whatever it might be. And I think that reason is, again, because the tour made calls years ago, a year ago, that are going to pan out to be the wrong call, because if you were going to do a deal, I think they had way more leverage than what they said they had yesterday. Whereas if this deal doesn't go through, the things that they were saying yesterday were the complete opposite of everything that they have said publicly for the last year. Literally,
I will say,
the complete opposite. They have sat there for the last year and said, LIV Golf's not a real thing. It's not a real threat. It's a flash pan. It's going to go away. And then yesterday they cried in front of the Senate and said, this is going to literally lead to us ceasing to exist if we don't stop it.
Yeah, no, that is a great point. You're making a lot of very good points. What I'll say is it's for me it's difficult because I talk to a lot of people at the PGA Tour. You know what I mean? Like in my role, I have relationships there, and this is something that has been a huge part of my career and my life for the last 2 years. And I don't think that the individual people that I've dealt with necessarily were lying, but in the end of the day, it's extremely hard for me to believe anything they say. And because like you said, it's the complete 108. We had a meeting with PGA Tour officials. Ron Price wasn't there, but a bunch of the other bigwigs were. And this was at the Memorial right before. And they were saying, we're looking for our schedule next year. We're not concerned with LIV. Like the PGA Tour's never been in like a better place. And, our partners are super happy. We're super stoked with the trajectory of the tour, and behind closed doors, it's like the house of cards is coming down. So it's a good point on that front.
Yeah, and look, I think like what the other thing is, this might not be doomsday. Like there's a chance that this could be fucking great, right? Like Newcastle, if you look at Newcastle, there was enormous pushback a couple years ago with basically the same thing that's happening now, right? Except on the scale of a Premier League team, Newcastle United, all their fans, of like, we cannot let the Saudis take over our team. They ended up owning 80% of it. Newcastle went from the threat of relegation to, I think they finished like fourth last year.
Yeah, they're in the Champions League this year, and they're buying players. Yeah,
hundreds of millions on buying players, and like the fans have come around. And there's been, I believe, a few hiccups where like they came out with kits that were the colors, I think, of like the Saudi Arabian flag, and like they had some issues that like people weren't thrilled with. But at the end of the day, it's like not been a bad thing. And we said over the last year that like, even when we talk about LIV, we said, if you get 1 or 2 or 3 degrees of separation involved in LIV past MBS, you're probably going to get to someone in the golf world that like wants to create a really cool golf tour, and like wants to do the right stuff. And there's a chance with all of this, is what Jimmy Dunn and Price were trying to say yesterday, was like, in theory, we could be coming to a deal where everyone is still loving and wants to promote golf and drive it and make it larger. And they have great social initiatives to get more people into golf, and they want to drive more events. They want to raise more money for charity, and they're going to have billions more to do it because these guys are coming in, and that could be a great thing. But there's always that caveat of like, but like Saudi Arabia is running the whole fucking thing.
Right. It's a deep cynicism that the entire public has that is probably rooted in like, there's probably, there's racial undertones for sure, where it's like these people, and I'm not saying that what they have done in the past, but there's this sort of assumption that, this guy, Yasir, who by all accounts was not a part of, was not even in the picture with 9/11. He was, he was working at a bank. It's actually, Yasser's story is wild. If you guys like dive into a little bit, the guy
there's
was
a good profile that we should share. There's like I don't know if the Atlantic did or something, but I read it like a month or two ago, and it is like this guy's, he came from basically like nothing.
Yeah. I mean, he's like,
not like a poor family,
running a bank.
but like,
he was running a bank. And now he's like the most powerful man in sports. And people just think that there's no possible way that this guy could actually want to do what he says he wants to do. There's no way that when he goes on CNBC and says these things that he's telling the truth. I've spoken to Jimmy Dunn a few times throughout this process. And what he has said to me is like, and this is what he said, in Congress yesterday, is like, there's no one who's closer to 9/11 than I am. If I had one shred of belief that these people are the people that the quote unquote the media is making them out to be, then I wouldn't make this deal. And I've had this conversation with LIV guys before. I remember I was talking to Matt Wolf in Portland, and he was like, you read about the Saudis and this and that, and it's like, I'm not denying that there are government, like the government, and it's all, but this deal is like with Yasser and other business associates who you talk to them and like, they're just people. Like they're just people. There seems to be this assumption that because of where they're from and because of like their association, and I understand the assumption is that they're scheming behind closed doors and there's like really, really nefarious. But you're right. It is possible. We don't know. And I could be naive, but it is possible. Jimmy Dunn, the PGA Tour seem to think that like there is a chance that they're actually like, and Newcastle being an example, like they're actually, it might not be doomsday.
This is going to work, by the way. It's going to work.
I think it's going to work.
It's going to work. It's all going to work. There's too much money involved. There's too many powerful people involved. There's too many smart people involved. Basically, what you got to do is wait for the public to get bored and annoyed, and they don't want to like. The outrage machine will run its course, and then there's more money in all these events. That's all that's going to happen.
Which is sports washing, right? Like that's
but
to like be
that's
like,
just what's going to happen.
Blow over, and then we're just like considered normal and not that bad. And the last thing I'll say on that to like try to at least not let all the negative go in vain is that like the CIA concluded that MBS directly ordered the dismemberment and murder of Jamal Khashoggi, who's a Wall Street Journal journalist, or Washington Post journalist, and this guy Yasser Al-Rumayyan is his right hand man. Like that, this is his guy, and so like that cannot be lost. In that, yes, I think there is a really good chance that like he wants to do right for golf, and he wants the Saudis' involvement in golf to bring a bunch of capital and money and have it grow and flourish and have them be known as like they're really good in this culture and all that. But like from an ethical and a moral standpoint, I don't think we can lose sight of the fact that like this is the right hand man of the guy that ordered that a couple years ago, like 5 years ago that happened. And so that's just like when Brandel and Eamon draw that up a lot, like they don't want people to forget like that. Yeah, that's a key element to the whole thing, that like these are bad people. And so,
but if the question is, if the question is, take everything out of it, you're going to be like, take all of that out of it. Is it going to be better for golf? Yes.
Should be. Right.
That's it.
I have a pizza meeting. As crazy as that sounds, I have a meeting about pizza. I know we're talking about incredibly important stuff, and I know the listeners. I've been listening to this. You guys have broken this down perfectly. I don't think anyone wanted to hear me take my fucking spewing bullshit takes on this, because you guys are just. That was a very good conversation. I do have a very important meeting about pizza with Dave Portnoy that I have to go to. I'm not saying it's more important than this. I'm saying that it's something that I have to go attend. So
okay, congratulations, married Frankie. Go do your pizza meeting.
Go do it,
and we're pretty much done here anyways, I think.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Well, I want to say again, because I don't want that last monologue to make it sound like I'm. But do you understand what I'm saying of Jimmy Dunn's point of like, yes, what you're saying is true with the CIA, and like, but it's not as black and white as that, and because you're doing like a business deal with someone doesn't mean that you guys. It sounds simplistic to say, but it doesn't mean you see the world the same way. You know what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you mean, and what you said, it makes all the sense in the world. And could people look at that and be like, "Oh, you're just denying"?
I'm washed.
Right,
Sports
and I get it,
washed,
but
yeah.
again, and I'm on that side as well too. I'm like, fuck, it sucks that the washing is going to work, because the thing that's true is the outrage machine is going to run out of fuel, and everybody's going to forget about it, and they're just going to be like, I gotta go to work, I gotta pay my bills, I can't every day be on Twitter talking about the human rights issues with all of this, and it's just, and that's what they're dependent on, and I get that, but like the fact of the matter is that these guys, the Saudi Arabia is in this sport now, they're not going anywhere. However, the Senate and the Congress, however it hammers out, it's all going to end with these guys are involved, and there's going to be more money in the sport, and that's it.
It's even bigger than that. It's not just this sport. It's like if we want to get really like big, it's like
let's get really big.
Yeah, like the white man's like grip on like sport, or like the Western countries, is just like kind of not as strong as it was. We're seeing it in soccer, and it's like there's this oh my God, I can't believe this. It's like, well, it's happening, and there's this disbelief that it couldn't possibly happen, and there's got to be, you know, if there's enough public backlash, or a strong enough, you know, and it comes back to what we were saying earlier. It's that, or not earlier, but when this deal happened, of just like, in the end of the day, and it's simplistic and it sucks, but money rules all. And right now, the money has shifted. They have, and this was a point that I think Ron Johnson made really well. He was like, they have the one thing that everyone in the world needs, and so it was eventually the power was going to shift their way.
That's true.
We have chosen as a globe that our point system is money, and they've got like the most money, and so they've got the most points. They're leading the game,
and they've got the thing that you need to build.
Actually, is that simple?
They've got the thing that everyone needs. Any business, AI, this, that, it's all run on energy. It powers the entire world. It's like, it's not just the oil industry, it's every other industry. We haven't found a way to power it without that.
Dude, it's funny. Like the PGA Tour last year, in their big announcement to raise purses, and we're seeing how much guys are making this year. I believe it was like $153 million injection of capital, like for this year, for raising purses and the FedEx Cup and the PIF and the PIP money and all that. Aramco, which our guy Yasser is also the chairman of that, I think did $161 billion in profits last year. So $153 million that the tour came up with last year. Aramco alone, which is one of like, I don't know, 230 things that he does. Aramco alone did $161 billion in profits last year, a record for a publicly listed company.
When they were talking about the whole PGA, it was crazy how small the PGA Tour sounded.
I know.
They're like, oh, we have 2.1 billion, they have 700 billion. It's like, what? We think of the PGA Tour as this like massive behemoth, and then the PIF powers the fucking world.
Yeah.
Dude, but it's also interesting, right? Like Tiger Woods himself has almost as many assets as the PGA Tour, right? Like they were like, PGA Tour, let's call it $1.25 billion in assets that it has. Tiger Woods has got over $1 billion. So it's like, it's interesting in that 4 of the top 10 highest earning athletes ever are golfers. So it's like they, on their personal brand and personal level, they are massive and influential, and they do deals with the biggest companies, and they're in the biggest commercials, and they're all over our world. But the actual entity of the PGA Tour isn't that big.
But the PGA Tour, people mistake the PGA Tour for meaning professional golf. It's not. It's not professional golf, because they don't own the freaking majors. So like if you were to combine all of the majors and the Ryder Cup, like then what does that number become? Obviously it's not 600 or 700 billion, but I think it's been kind of characterized as like the entire sport of golf is being taken over. And like, yes, but the PGA Tour doesn't hold the 5 most valuable assets in the sport. I mean, I guess you could say they don't own Tiger Woods, right? Like he doesn't work for the PGA Tour. They don't own any of the majors, and they don't own the Ryder Cup. So it's really like, yes, it is a big deal, but when you really think about like what exactly do they own, they have these tournaments that have a very long, proud history, and they have a lot of TPC golf courses, and they have like a good media deal, but it's still like only a percentage, and not even 80% or 90% of the value of professional golf.
I like that Dan's take is basically that like Yasser got screwed. That was like a bad deal. He's looking at it now like he made a horrible deal. He could have got Augusta. He could have got USGA. He got the PGA Tour.
He got the little
Who
sister.
gives a fuck
He got the
about
scraps,
that?
the golf
Jesus.
scraps. It is such a strange
What
sport
an
that the
idiot.
main league has nothing to do really with the biggest events.
It's crazy that tennis is the same way. The exact same way.
To the point where, like, dude, during majors, right, during the Masters, like, we see everybody tweets at us, like, why is that PGA Tour, like, not have this on TV? And you're like, they're two totally different entities.
We've had that struggle with our own social people being like, wait, so is the PGA the championship on the PGA Tour? And we're like, there are different governing bodies. And I understand how that's confusing.
Okay, we got real vodka, we got delicious real fruit, and we've got Truly hard seltzer. So we've been talking now for 5 years about Truly. They've had 30 plus flavors, and they're always coming out with new flavors. And now they've just combined it with this pure, delicious, real vodka, a bunch of great flavors, and they've got the Truly vodka seltzers that are available near you. They're game changers, fellas.
They really are. And we go to all these Barstool Classic that is presented by Truly. Truly's been great to us again for 5 years, like Riggs said. And everybody who's been trying these new seltzers, they love them. Rave reviews. We got them on pretty much every tee box. People are drinking them all day. They're refreshing. They just love being out there drinking Truly's, playing golf. That's just the perfect day. And these new ones are they're the ones. They're great.
It's hot and humid too right now. Okay, it's just hot and humid around this country. It's hot and humid. You need a refreshing, delicious beverage, fewer calories. All 12-ounce cans have under 110 calories. That means plenty of refreshing flavor, not going to weigh you down. Lower sugar. Every Truly vodka seltzer contains only 2 grams of sugar, and a refreshing go-to that is perfect for summer, all caps, summer. Find Truly vodka seltzer near you at trulyhardseltzer.com. That's trulyhardseltzer.com.
What do you think Greg Norman's last 48 hours has been like?
So my standing theory is that Yasser is such a genius that he was like, Greg Norman's the perfect guy. He's going to be this bombastic, hated guy. And then the minute that they come to me and they sit down in a room with me, they're going to be like, wow, this guy's great. Like this guy is
good cop, bad cop.
Exactly. And they're like, fuck yeah, we'll do anything this Yasser guy wants because he's so much better than Greg Norman. And so Norman probably made several $100 million, and now he's just going to run on the beach with his giant, snake that he's got in there. And
he ain't going to go down Norman. That easy. He ain't going to go down.
I thought he was going to rush the hill. I thought he would show up at the hearings.
I don't know Greg personally at all, but from all everything you hear about the guy, he's a very proud man.
Yeah.
And he feels
I think
like
I know where that comes from.
Confident.
He feels like he didn't get a fair shake. He was number one in the world. He only won, 2 majors when he probably should have won a bunch more. There's like a chip on his shoulder. And I think he kind of feels like this thing, he finally was getting the kind of the spot and the appreciation that he deserved. And he's a visionary. And history will look back. It'll be very interesting to see how Norman is portrayed in this, because at the end of the day, but it's a little bit different though, because at the end of the day, Norman, he's a big reason why LIV got off the ground, but LIV isn't really the reason why this is happening. And so it's like, I think on the end of the day, he was sort of just a piece.
He's a pawn.
He's a pawn that they just, when it came time to actually move forward with this, they just tossed him aside. It looks like.
I agree with that. How common is a disparagement clause in general contracts?
They were saying
okay,
almost every deal, and then Blumenthal was like, well, this isn't every deal, but almost every deal, I think, right? Riggs, you would know this more than me.
That part to me was getting overblown, and I think Jimmy Dunn or somebody, one of the two of them wrote it or said it perfectly. They were like, when any 2 big entities come together and decide to negotiate, it's pretty common to be like, hey, while we're doing this, let's not talk badly about the other one publicly. And they're like, great. That's what I was wondering. I
figured it was way more common than people were reporting, because it seemed, because on paper it's like, oh, well, here you go, you're getting fucked here.
Totally.
You can't talk shit about it. But yeah, I hear what you're saying.
And I get that, like, that they were harping on that, and that's something that we've talked about a lot on this show of like, if now, because Jimmy Dunn and Ron Price are in a room, now all of a sudden, Kawhi Morikawa, if the Saudis decide to murder a journalist, can't say anything negative about him for the rest of his life. Like, that's crazy. Like, how did he get screwed into that? So that's kind of how that was getting painted a little bit. I think what they said is like, this is a short-term clause that's like only the umbrella is only over it while we're doing these negotiations. And if that ends up in the final provision or final contract, it will not get approved most likely by the PGA Tour board. So it would be a major story if that ended up being the non-disparagement in the final contract. But in terms of during negotiations, from my understanding, that's pretty fucking normal for them to have.
It is like interesting to keep an eye on, though, because that is the case on LIV. Like they're not allowed to like talk negatively. I don't know what would happen if they did. I don't think that they would, like, you know what I mean? Because there's too, maybe they would. I mean, you know what? They probably would, because the Khashoggi thing, again, I can't believe we're talking about this on the golf podcast, but it's like, I wonder if that's going to, I think if the PGA Tour keeps control like they say they are, and again, we talked about this, Riggs, I thought that whole thing yesterday was completely useless without Yasser. Like, if you don't have Yasser there to answer these questions, then like, what are we doing here? If they can keep control, then that won't be the case. And I think that that's what they're trying to say is like, we've made a deal where we can have the good parts of which is the money, and we can mitigate the bad parts. There's obviously going to still be, you're going to have things in Saudi Arabia. It's going to be, but it's not a situation where it's LIV, right? It's not like, okay, LIV won, and so now it's a LIV world and everything's going to look like LIV. They're saying, and again, we don't know if this is the case without Yasser. It's got to play out, but they're saying this world's going to look like the PGA Tour with a lot more money in it, not going to look like LIV and this kind of like dystopian thing where they're, always talking about how great the kingdom is.
Right. That's kind of the way I understand it too, and that's why the tour did the deal of like, we could preserve the PGA Tour.
Yeah,
we'll give them some power and a seat at the table, and like, we'll have more money, and it could be good. So that's kind of where I think we're at. I think it'll be months before we now really learn more outside of stuff leaking about communications and stuff. But in terms of the actual framework and the deal, I think it'll be months and months and months before we learn more. And yeah, that's kind of where we're at with the whole thing. I liked the hearings. I thought they were great. I thought it was so wild to see. And Dan, you kind of tweeted that, like, it's like, for most of us that are just not exposed to like the political theater that goes on all the time,
dude,
it was like when a certain senator would get the mic and you'd be like, he's just doing his stump speech in the hearing with like what is this guy talking about? You're like, okay, that is bad stuff, but like,
it was like watching Clay Travis on Twitter, like trying to demand someone,
crazy.
like with the Uyghurs in China. Yeah. And again, I'll say that I think people who listen to the show know that, like, I'm not saying that this stuff is okay. It's just the ridiculousness of being like, will you conduct a tournament in Russia? Will you conduct a tournament in China? It's like, what are we talking about here?
Those guys don't care either. They're passing off like they care about the things that they're saying, but they're like, I want people to see that people think that I care.
Yeah, in a big way, right? This is like, I want this to be known on my platform that like I went up against Chinese enslavement 100%. Of these folks. That is what I would, and it's like, dude, we're talking about fucking golf. Like, what do you, and when they're like, I cannot believe we're using time, and it's like, you have 24 hours in a day, dude. You can't multitask and talk about this right now, and the fact that the Saudis might be taking control of some of our major institutions in America, and then in 10 minutes talk about the Uyghur situation and like, you're not capable of that. You can only do it. Like, what are you talking about? So it's like, that whole part was driving me crazy. Senator Hawley from Missouri, I apologize to all from Missouri when he went up there. He's a classic. He's a kid. He came to class. He Googled a quote. He was ready to just drop that quote. He's all fired up for it. He had the poster board and everything. And the tour just doesn't go there. It hasn't gone there since 2019. He was like, you're telling me, I'm reading this quote, you're telling me you have a 20-year deal. They're like, nope, that like ended, and we haven't been there in 4 years. And he was like, all right, come back to me.
That was the only time that Ron Price, who I thought was like very, very calm throughout the whole thing. I thought he did like a good job of keeping his emotions in check. That was the only time where you could see him on his face. He was a little bit like, shut the fuck up. Like, what are you, what are you talking about?
He kept hammering it. Like, you're not playing in China. He's like, we are not playing in China. We have not since 2019. And he's like, this quote says that you're playing in China. He's like, we don't play in China. And he's like, are you going to play in Russia? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, geez. So yeah, that was,
you really have to view it as theater. Like, I know that there's a lot at stake and there really is, but there's also like, just look at it like theater and you will feel better a little bit.
The presentation itself, you've got all these lights on this table with 2 empty chairs, right? Waiting for these guys to come in and sit down. You've got all of the people in the suits behind them. And then you've got the senators physically elevated, right? Yeah. On a platform, or like a lectern or whatever, a table that like wraps around. So you're basically surrounded. It's
literally
like
talking down to people.
It's
like
straight out of
talking
Shakespeare.
Down to
Yeah, it's straight out of Shakespeare. And they can interrupt you whenever they want, and they can say whatever they want to you, and they can put you on the spot. It's not how people in real life like communicate ideas or anything. It's just, you're right, it's theater. It's like its own fucking show.
You know what? The biggest thing that I wish I was around for in real time were the Watergate hearings. Like, I was watching back. There's a great like 4-part documentary on Watergate. I think it's on HBO Max, and they do such a good job of like building up to the hearings and how for like a year or like the Watergate was nothing. Nobody cared during the election, and then it kind of like started to become a little bit like, wait, what happened there? What did they do? And then all of a sudden, like John Deere going out there and reading his testimony, being like, this is what happened, and people being like, wait, what the fuck did he say? And then they pull out the guy that had installed the tape recorders, and they're like, and people don't even know who this guy is. And they're like, okay, bringing out this guy, and they ask a question like, were you instructed by the president at any point to install listening devices? And he pauses and is like, yes. And the whole country's like, whoa, what?
Yeah,
what
dude.
did that guy say? And
Yeah,
you're like, dude, the hearings were off the chart. So that type of stuff, when it delivers, is awesome. And it is because of that theater. You're right. Like, the senators are literally talking down to these people from their podium, basically. It's fucking nuts that we do it that way, but it is great television.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I'm worried. I'm a little worried. Do you guys think that people are going to think that I'm like, I'm not making excuses for anything. I'm just presenting that side that's like, maybe it's not as bad as, maybe it's not the worst possible outcome. Maybe it's not. Maybe their motivations aren't the worst possible like version of what they say they are.
No, I think you made it clear what you were. I think it was clear to me. So
okay. I agree. I think that's right. I think that's probably the most likely outcome too. But I think that but
the internet just skews your brain, dude. It skews your brain so much.
It does.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think their dream is to like be influential, have this go great with golf, have Newcastle win the Champions League, and like still be able to like murder people for whatever reason that they want. I think that's like their dream.
Definitely.
I think that's honestly their dream.
Yeah.
And the good news in that is like, I do think their intentions with like golf, they want golf to do well. The bad news with that is that like, are we kind of giving them a pass on just continuing, or the fact that they've done bad stuff? And that's just kind of the crux of the issue for everyone.
Hopefully this deal and stuff moving forward, like there's a middle ground. We come full circle. You talked about you go into a negotiation and you want everything. They want to be able to be loved, and they want to be able to kill everybody. And it's like, okay,
right.
We'll take the loved parts, and we're gonna do enough so that we don't just like give a pass to like the killing everybody part.
And like, hopefully, right? Like, hopefully this all in their involvement in Western culture is helping them like evolve their approach to, you know what I'm saying? Like,
let it go.
Yeah. That's right. That'd be great. And so, we don't know how it's going to play out. I think that's kind of the main takeaway. That's sort of our breakdown of the whole thing. And yeah, it'll be great theater going forward, as it was. The hearing, whenever it is, that has Yasser, Monahan, and Norman in it, hopefully, would be, I mean, that's Get your popcorn.
We
were
missing. Damon, Pitt, and Affleck.
Right.
With all due
We were
respect,
missing everyone. We were missing everyone.
I mean,
right.
We needed the heavy hit. We needed the leading man.
It was like there was a strike, and we basically had like replacement refs. Is kind of what we had. It was like, all right, who the fuck are these guys? What are they talking?
One
about?
guy saying touchdown, one guy saying incomplete. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's kind of what we got yesterday, but it was still pretty good. So when we get the main players back, when we figure out those contracts and get them out there, it's going to be nice. All right, we got two big interviews. We got Sepp Straka, and we got Allisen Corpuz, who's just won the biggest women's tournament there's probably ever been. So two great interviews. We'll be back next week. It's major championship week. British Open, baby. We got the Scottish this week. So, yeah, golf, red hot right now. Hit it hard.
Hit it hard.
Hit it hard.
We have an exclusive ticketing partner here at Barstool Sports, and they are great. Imagine how hard it must have been back in the day, back before this time, to just get tickets, last-minute tickets in general, to anything. What would you do?
How?
You walk up to the venue? Would you walk up to the
office?
venue?
Yeah, that's why it's called a box office.
I would like to attend this event that's in the future?
It's an office.
I've actually never thought about that. How do they get tickets in like the 50s? How do you get a ticket?
They went to the
event?
box office, I think.
Where is this? Where is this mythical box office that you're referring to?
I think venues used to have it.
Honey, like Jimi Hendrix is coming to town in 4 months. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get in my car. I'm going to fight traffic. I'm going to drive to the stadium, and I'm going to talk to those people in that box office that are working in their office and see if they have tickets available. That's crazy town. Now, game time. Just a couple seconds, couple clicks. Easier. Created by fans, for fans. Game Time is the ticketing app that makes it easier than ever to score last-minute deals on tickets, sports, concerts, shows, comedy shows. They guarantee the lowest price. God, we've used it for baseball games. We're on the road so much, too. A lot of times you don't know what your evening is going to look like. So we're on the road at the U.S. Open, or we're on the road at Barstool Classic, and you're like, you know what? This evening we got nothing to do. Why don't we go to a baseball game? Why don't we go to a show? Why don't we see who's in town? You can actually just go scroll through the Game Time app too and just type in a venue or a city, and it'll just show you what's going on that night or any night that you pick. So Game Time's the best. Purchase process takes 2 taps, takes 10 seconds. Download the Game Time app or go to the website, enter your email, redeem code FORE, F-O-R-E, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply.
No Scottish for you?
No,
is that always the plan? Always the plan to not?
Yeah, always a plan to not play Scottish.
Are you a play before like a major guy, or usually not?
I'm still trying to figure it out. I don't really know. I do more not play before majors, but I've done both. I've played better when I haven't played before, so maybe leaning towards that. Especially this one would be nice to get over there, get situated, since it's such a long way away.
Yeah, we're here with Sepp Straka. Just won the John Deere Classic. I gotta say, I think for our friend Trent on this show, you won about the biggest tournament that you could possibly win.
Well, it is a huge tournament in general, but also it's a huge tournament for me. I'm from that area. It's a big deal in that area. In some circles, it's referred to as the 5th major. So in some circles, you are considered a major winner now. But that's the John Deere Classic is just it's a big time tournament, and congratulations to you on winning it.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, I consider myself a major winner now.
Yep. Yeah, I think I think you're a major champion. We talked about this. It's just so strange. Let's just be honest. Seeing that flag next to your name and hearing the way that you speak, I mean, I don't think there's ever been a situation like it in world golf where like you are of a very, very, very good chance to make the European Ryder Cup team, and you sound like you're from Birmingham, Alabama. Do you feel Austrian? Are you hanging out with the potential European teammates? Like, where's your heart at in this?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because I do sound like I am from the South, and but I never had an accent. You know, I grew up over there. I lived there till I was 14. Austria is part of who I am, and I've played all of my golf for Austria, and so I definitely feel 100% Austrian, and it just doesn't quite come across that way when I speak in English.
14, yeah, like that surprises me. I would have thought that you moved over here to Alabama when you were like 3, and that it wasn't necessarily that big. But when you're 14, I'm sure with how good of a player you are and were at that time, like you just said, you're probably playing in some international events or at least representing kind of Austria and Europe. You've done that before.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I played the European Boys Team Championships, the European Amateur Championships for Austria, the Olympics. So pretty much all my golf has been played for Austria.
We're so dumb. It's like he's like yeah.
You just learned that, Dan. Did you just realize that, buddy?
Like, yeah, I've done everything for Austria. We're like, oh, but your accent. He's like, yeah. I mean, I played European Championships. We're like, can you speak English a little bit less well so that my brain is a little bit less confused?
And you hear how dumb I am. In one of our last videos, we were playing out in California, and I was like, man, this place looks like Austria-Hungary. And like no one caught that I just combined the two countries. And then one of the commenters was like, Frankie just low-key referenced a very strong strategic military alliance during the World Wars. Like he's actually way smarter than we all know.
Oh boy. So yeah, I mean, Ryder Cup, is there I know there's been for the last handful of years, it feels like more initiatives in all team events to kind of have dinners, group chats, whatever it is. What's kind of your communication been like thus far with sort of the go-tos on the European Ryder Cup team?
Yeah, we've had dinners. They had the Hero Cup earlier in January, which wasn't, all the top prospects for the Ryder Cup, but a bunch of guys played, a bunch of guys that will be on the Ryder Cup. And I've had some communications with Luke, and I feel like I'm pretty close to those guys.
I think you did I think you lobbied pretty hard for yourself this last weekend. It was interesting. I was flipping between the U.S. Women's Open, John Deere Classic, and you've got a bit of a leaderboard. It's kind of jumbled, and I turned on TV, and you were just up by 5 shots. Like for you, what did it feel? I think even Colt said at one point, like on the back 9, Brendan Todd came up, walked by him, and was like, "What the hell's going on in front of me?" So from your vantage point, sort of, did you just kind of like black out? Like how are you able to just in the final round run away, basically?
Pretty much blacked out for most of the round. I was playing some good golf going in those 2 days before. I played really nice just to make the cut on Friday, and then played a nice round again on Saturday. And I was playing good, and I got off to a hot start. I started birdie eagle, put myself kind of in the mix early. But on that golf course, I mean, there's birdies on every hole, so when you're an hour in front of the last group, you just have no clue. You need to keep the pedal down, just keep making birdies. So I just kind of had the mindset of I'm not really leading this tournament because all those guys have however many holes left to play to catch up to me. So just try to keep the pedal down and make as many birdies as I could.
Does 59 ever enter your mind, or are you just I'm trying to make birdies?
He definitely, whatever he says, it definitely enters your mind.
You never know. He blacked out.
Nah, it definitely entered my mind. When I birdied 12 and then 13, it really popped in my mind. I was like, well, there's a few tougher holes coming in the stretch, but there's a lot of birdies out there. So you got 16, 17, even 18. If you hit 2 quality shots, you can give yourself a look. And I definitely knew I had a chance. And I didn't alter my game plan though to try to shoot that. I was still just trying to win the golf tournament.
If it weren't for leaderboards telling you exactly how many under you were for the day, would you have known that you were 11 under through 13 or 14 holes or whatever it was?
Yeah, I did the math a couple times. Yeah, okay. I had to add them up
because I was wondering.
That's a good feeling.
Like, if you're out there, right, you're making birdie after birdie, must be like 11's not the like you're like I'm how many under 11 under, but yeah, it was wild to watch, and like I said, felt like they went to one commercial break, come back. Bang, you've got a big lead. Is it something we had Allisen Corpuz on, and she was talking about how down the stretch she was trying to at Pebble on Sunday, she's trying to act like she was chasing the whole time, because we've seen it a million times when we watch golf of like when somebody grabs the lead, it's really hard to hold on to and they start to wobble, versus when somebody's an hour ahead, like you said, you kind of can just freewheel whatever that mindset is, where then all of a sudden you're in the lead. Was it tricky? Were you trying to play mind games with yourself of being like, even though I'm 4 or 5 ahead, like I need to act like I'm chasing still?
Yeah, for sure. It's probably a little harder to do at Pebble. I think she probably did a better job just because, John Deere, those guys got an hour and a half to play. They can make 3 or 4 birdies like it's nothing. So, yeah, definitely some mind games of, look, these guys could go reel off 3 in a row and then it's, I'm 1 back. So definitely play a little bit of mind games of just try to post a number and got to make sure I'm ahead of these guys pretty comfortably to have a chance.
Golf is obviously the strangest sport in the world because you got a guy like yourself who's so hot, and we see it so often on the golf course. They're 11 under through 13, or they're 9 under through 12, and then they kind of hit a wall. You had the situation where you make the double on 18. Was it just was it a poor swing and a poor moment, or was it sort of, you think, nerves coming in the back, or because you were so lights out for the whole day, and then arguably one of the most important shots of the whole week, that happens. How do you explain that sort of shift? Is it just one bad shot, or do you think that something got into your head or into your process?
Definitely. I think it's just one bad shot. The nerves were there from the 4th hole on when I realized that. Yeah. From then on, you're pretty much playing with nerves. And I feel like I handled them pretty well that day because I stayed in my process, stayed, kind of in the moment. And even on that one, we didn't do anything differently before the shot. Talked through it just like we would, pick the target. I swung at the target and I just pulled it. And wind off the right's not great for me. I draw the ball a good bit. And so once it got started, left ball, it was gone. So
you're one of the few left. I feel like there's not many on tour that. Yeah. You guys have like a group chat of like, hey, they're trying to eliminate us, but we can still hit draws.
Yeah, me, Kirk, and Lucas Glover, we kind of hang together. We're the last 3, I think, that hit a draw with the driver.
Yeah, I mean, all they do is talk about how you guys dying breed. You should go to the cut. Like you got to band together.
Yeah, no, we gotta try to figure out how to revive this thing because I really love a draw.
You got to have a presence on that competitions committee and get those left pins, just left pin after left pin. You can't.
They did a good job of it on Sunday. I'll tell you, there was a lot of left pins, just a lot of back left pins for me.
I got to do a better job of looking at when they release those pins and seeing left pins and being like, all right, that group chat of those guys that draw the ball, I'm going to go to the Barstool Sports book and hammer those guys this week.
Yeah, there you go.
We spoke a lot on Tuesday's show about how it was a cool win for us because you're very much in the orbit of one of our favorite circles, kind of out on tour. Tillery, you had Dewey on the bag. Dewey's not your regular caddy out there. What happened with Dewey? Because I texted him, he said he basically got a hit up 6 days ago, and next thing he knows, he's on the bag for a winner. Kind of, how'd that come about?
Yeah, so I've known Dewey for a while, playing for kids, obviously. He's a great guy. He's an awesome caddy. Great guy to have on the bag. And Kiz is conveniently for me taking a little break, and so I figured I'd try to take Dewey for a little while. So yeah, it worked out pretty nicely.
What kind of presence was he when you guys were kind of lighting it up? I feel like I was trying to watch him in the background because he's one of our guys. It seemed like he was enjoying it as much as anybody.
Yeah, he was awesome. I mean, he's so good. When we were 3 over on Thursday, he was the exact same as he was on Sunday on that 17th, 18th coming down the stretch. Nothing changed. Just process oriented and just kept the face. And yeah, he was awesome.
Very cool. He's the best.
Riggs mentioned Tillery. I've been working with Tillery for the last couple of years. I love that guy. One of my favorite people in the world. What's something that you guys have been working on? How's that relationship been? Like, talk to me about what you've been working on with Tillery.
It's been great. He's been awesome for my game. Just kind of introducing a lot more structure to my practice. We got into a routine about 3 months ago of just going to the gym before the round and working on my tendencies basically, and then just leaving all that in the gym and maybe the first few minutes of practice. But other than that, just when I get out there, I'm just playing golf, and I think that's good for me because I can't play with a swing thought. Save my life, and yeah, it's been awesome. It's been great having him, and I think that process has really worked. He also convinced me to buy a TrackMan, which I've been playing some short games and some combines and stuff. So yeah, it's been good.
You think that practice, improved practice, part of the reason you're kind of breaking through at this age? Like, some guys do it right away. It took a couple years for you to kind of assert yourself on the PGA Tour, but you're at a different level now. I think you're 27 in the world. How does that feel to hear that? How does it feel to be like legitimately like in the Ryder Cup picture? Your golf is at a different level now than it was a couple years ago.
Yeah, it's pretty surreal. It's crazy because, I guess I'm a bit of a late bloomer. I wasn't a great junior golfer. I was an okay amateur player in college. But I kept kind of improving a little bit every year. And I think Tillery and that structure to my practice has made me a lot more consistent. Just going out there, working on my stuff every day. And it's just really helped me kind of be more consistent with my ball striking, which has been huge for me.
You mentioned Tillery convinced you to buy a TrackMan. Have you confirmed or checked to make sure he's not a salesman or getting like kickbacks or anything from
I'm
the
sure he
TrackMan
is.
company?
Sure he is,
Okay,
yeah.
all right. I just want to make sure. As long as you're okay with that, confirm.
He's probably
make sure.
pushing Cuscawilla merch on you too. Put this on. Just wear it. Just wear it.
He like scans the TrackMan like they do at like Target to make sure that you were the person that sold it to them.
Yeah,
Let me just see that real quick. Okay.
It's just like when you check out too, like promo code JT.
Yeah.
That's
Jay
right.
Tillery at the checkout.
What's that? 25,000, 20%. That's pretty good. Okay, that's pretty good.
I'll tell you what. The practice thing rings true to me too, because he tells me to practice. Now I don't practice as much as I should, and I am not reaching the goals that I should be reaching. So it's good to hear, and I'm sure Tillery is thrilled to hear that when his practice is put into practice, it ends up with success. So that's something I'm going to take home with me too, because it really does work.
Are you going to start practicing now or just...
I've been practicing more.
That wasn't a yes.
Well,
I think we would have liked
that's
to
not a
have
simple
that.
answer. I've been practicing certainly more than I was in the past, and I've gotten much, much closer to trying to break 90, which is what I'm attempting to do, and Tillery's a big part of that. I've gotten much closer, and I'm more consistently like in the mid to low 90s. So it does work, but I guarantee if I practice every single day, I would be so much better than I am.
That's frustrating to hear because we just want you to do that. But the second thing is, do you think
every day?
Yeah, but do you think that do you think you've fallen in love with practice yet, Trent? Because I feel like Sepp probably found that with Tillery, where it's like he found the way to love practicing. I feel like everyone
the millions of dollars
through,
probably helps too.
Yeah,
with the
okay. Well,
practice.
I mean, we are in the golf world. Our work is golf, so it's like pretty damn similar. No, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, no.
We do golf.
We found that the worse I play, the better more people like it, actually.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying about so actually taking the Tillery stuff where it's like he needs these guys to fall in love with the process. You keep saying process. You got to stick to the process. Dewey stuck to the process leading into the round. That makes a huge difference, all that stuff.
Yeah, I'll tell you what.
It's like,
I hate practicing too. I hate hitting balls on the range more than anything. And we kind of found a thing where, with that TrackMan, there's a bunch of games, and I love games, competition, playing golf, all of that. I play 36 a day if I got a cart. But yeah.
Key caveat there. Yeah. Cart.
Yeah.
Make sure.
But see, that's a good example, though. You found something within it to make you do it every single day.
Yeah, that is a good example. That is very good. No, I have not fallen. To answer your question, no, I have not fallen in love. I've never liked homework. I've never liked studying. I've never liked practice. I didn't like football practice when I played. I'd rather just go out there and do things, and it doesn't end up working in the golf world. It turns out, but
you're getting better, Trent. You're playing better.
I am getting better.
Sure.
No doubt about
Statistically proven.
Yep, statistical improvement.
I apologize for the nerdiness of this question. Why do you think that there's no drawers? I mean, is the equipment's made it much harder? Do you think that the way that people like teach with kind of like turn and just use your body, like why do you think? Because I'm sure if you looked at a range on the PGA Tour in 1990s, I don't know if it's 50-50, but it feels like it's so much swayed toward the cut now. I know it's like what's your thought behind that?
I would think the equipment, especially with the driver, they're so low spin now, and it's hard to draw the ball consistently low spin. You can start out left because a fade swing generally produces more swing. So if you hit a fade with a low spin driver and ball, it's going to go a little farther. So I think the equipment has definitely kind of eradicated our kind.
Yeah. It's funny. I remember like DJ, right? Didn't DJ used to draw the ball forever, and then Butch convinced him to cut it, and then all of a sudden he became best player in the world for a long time.
Yeah, I think it's hard to do it consistently, especially with the low spin equipment nowadays.
Have you tried cutting it at all, and you just like can't see it? You can't do it. Have you experimented at all, or you just kind of? Because I would think that with everyone around you going the other way, there's probably a little bit of like, you can't help but kind of have wandering eyes.
It would be a pretty big change for me to do it consistently. I mean, I can hit a cut. It's usually kind of a low launch, nasty little slice, but
skanker. We got
it's a groove low on purpose.
Hit that one on command, pal. Yeah. You let me know.
But yeah, it would be a big change for me at this point, and I feel like I've got something going with the draw, so I'm sticking to it.
This poor guy is going to be like on the back nine at Hoylake, just drawing the ball beautifully, and he's going to be like, these fucking guys from foreplay, just all they talked about was cutting it. And he's like, I'm just trying to play my game. It's like, just let me draw the golf ball. It is an interesting point, because I feel like when I started getting into golf 15, 20 years ago, I was in high school, in I guess it was whatever, mid 2000s, late 2000s, it was like drawing the ball was, you were the king. If you hit this cut, it was weak, loser, pathetic. And if you could draw the ball, you were like powerful, hitting it right. You were the man. And so I feel like that's a good point, Dan, that at some point it seems to have shifted. So it's interesting to hear you say you think it's probably equipment or whatever.
Yeah, definitely a lot of equipment. I think still drawing the ball is just prettier. Everybody wants to do it. Nobody can do it if you're an amateur. So I still think it's a cooler shot. But yeah, the equipment makes it a lot easier to fade it.
I mentioned Hoylake. So your next start, you're going to get over there. You're going to get settled in. I believe last year was your first Open miscut. Now you're coming off a win. Like Dan said, you're up in the top 30 in the world. You're playing great golf. What's sort of your approach this year going into different style of golf, links golf? Do you watch, when Rory won there, when Tiger won there? Do you go in kind of blind? How do you get ready for next week?
Yeah, I think last year was a little disappointing because I just didn't have my game. So I really couldn't even learn that much about links golf. I just wasn't hitting it very good. And so I didn't really get a whole lot of experience on that. And I did get a little bit about, shots around the greens, chipping, putting, all that is just completely different over there. So yeah, definitely going to try to just play a lot of golf, hit a lot of shots on the golf course, and just kind of try to get a good feel of the golf course.
What's your crew? You bring in the fam? You go over there with kind of your tight circle? What's the posse?
My wife's going to come and my parents will come. Yeah. So that'll be the crew there.
We got a house?
Yeah, house just right by the golf course. It's awesome. Similar to last year, you'd be able to walk to the golf course. It's pretty sweet over there.
How in Liverpool is this place? Do you know, Dan? Has anybody been over there?
No. I don't think it's really
never been to Liverpool.
Okay,
no idea.
I think it's maybe 20 minutes. 30 minutes from
because I know we were kind of talking about going because Liverpool, the Beatles, the whole deal, like how cool of the history and iconic city and all that, and I just wasn't sure if it was like in the city or if it was pretty close because I feel like I don't really remember that much from whenever Rory won there.
I mean, Trotty's the guy. Trotty's he was trying to get us to go over there because he's a Liverpool guy.
Yeah, he was.
Fuck, I know. I love the Open, but for some reason, like you're saying, I don't know much about this golf course. I'm not it's not one of those names that's like sticking out to me where I have to get juiced for the Open right now. Like I have to start my juices now. They're not coming to me naturally.
I remember
something about it.
18's the hard dog leg, right? You pretty much got to hit it over the OB to go for it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like the only thing I remember from the whole thing. It's like, oh God, I remember Ricky and Rory, and I remember Tiger hitting irons everywhere and holing out with the 4-iron on the 1 par 4. But outside of that, you're right, Frankie. I can't picture the golf course, so I myself am gonna have to do some work to get all hyped up.
I'm with you guys as well. I think a lot of it is our travel schedule, but I also feel like this is a take that I'm working on, and I want to hear Sepp's thoughts on this. I kind of feel like the majors are too close together. I just feel like it's so hectic that there's never any time to breathe. And it feels like we just finished the US Open and it felt like we just finished the PGA after that. And it's like the golf season is really kind of in this part of the country in the Northeast, maybe halfway done, maybe kind of almost halfway done, maybe a little before. And the golf major season is just over. And I understand why that is, but I don't know. There's something about this year, especially, maybe it's because of all the news cycle and everything that's been happening, but it just feels like it's been pretty taxing with all the designated events this year. Like I know they're going to spread them out, but what's your read on like the rhythm of the schedule?
I think a lot of it is the hyping of the designated events. People treating those as not majors, but secondary majors, I guess, just kind of elevating them. I think that's probably the main thing. That, and also, every single day there's a new thing coming out about this or that, LIV, all that stuff. So it's probably a lot of that, because, it used to be even more jumbled up with the players being in May, which they've moved that to March now and kind of spread it out a little bit. So I'm guessing it's probably a lot of just the designated events and the news cycle of golf these days.
Yeah, it just feels like there's so many huge events. There's more huge events than there used to be. I guess it's good. It should
John
be.
Deere Classic.
I don't know why. Yeah, I don't know why we're complaining, but
they could probably spread them out a little bit more. But big events is getting all the top players in the world together is a good thing.
Looked it up while we were talking about that. How about tennis? The Australian Open is like January 7th. It starts. Now they're just doing Wimbledon. So that is very spread out. I like the way we've done it. I think Sepp's right. Like I think it's just been like we're watching Senate hearings. We got Yasser and Jay up on CNBC, and then bang, it's like all of a sudden Wyndham Clark and Rory are going at it at the U.S. Open. Then it's like bang, it just kind of been hitting us nonstop.
I think it's a good thing.
I think so too. Well, look, we talk about the John Deere Classic a lot on this show. Do you get like a tractor or anything? Do they hook you up? With
Gator. Yeah, they give me a Gator, so that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, that's right.
Best thing I could have hoped for. Don't know what I'd do with the tractor or any of the big farm equipment.
Can I tell you guys a secret? I have no clue what a Gator is.
It's like a massive souped up golf cart.
Yep.
Yeah.
With a
They're like amphibious, right? Is that why they call them gators? They can like go through like small ponds, small like streams and stuff. I feel like.
Probably. I don't know. I'll try it out. I'll let you know.
Give it a go.
What is the utility of such a vehicle?
It's got like a little bed, almost like a truck, in the back. So I guess it's kind of like a mini pickup truck.
You just rip it around. You rip it around the wilderness.
Yeah.
It's like it's got crazy suspension. You never seen a picture of those things? They're nuts.
I'm not having a hard time picturing. Do you have like a place to drive that around where you live? Like, can you make use of it?
I'm going to need to try to figure out how to get it street legal. That'll be the key.
There you go.
If I can't get it street legal, I might be in trouble.
Those things are nice though. That's a good prize.
Yeah, they are sweet. You'll find good use for that. Well, look, good. Safe travels over across the pond, as they say. I'm pumped. We're getting, I think we all kind of got there together. We're starting to get hyped up for British Open, last major of the year, your second win on tour. We might be enemies, depending on Ryder Cup and all that. But yeah, hopefully you make it on that team. It'd be very funny for us to hear like the Southern accent, American accent on the European Ryder Cup team. We obviously we don't have the mental capacity to get over how funny that would be. So good luck, play well next week, and congratulations. What a round of golf you played.
Sounds good. Appreciate it, guys. Thanks.
Don't do any interviews in English that week.
Yeah, I'll just only take German interviews. There you go.
That's what you should do. Because
that'll make it make sense to us.
Yeah. That's gonna break people's brain. If you get out there and you like beat Justin Thomas in a match and they're doing an interview on the 18th green and you're sounding like this, America won't be able to process what's going on.
That's our point. All right.
I think I might need to get it later. That'll be good.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, congrats, Sepp. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Our next partner is Athletic Greens. I take AG1 by Athletic Greens literally every day. I gave AG1 a try. Basically, I was listening to a lot of different things. I was listening to a little bit of Rogan, and I can tell that he's way more into his health than I am. Way more. He talks about it a lot, how certain meats that you can eat, certain nutrients that people don't take, vitamins, all that. And he was raving about Athletic Greens. So I tried Athletic Greens. It is phenomenal. It's so impossible to actually consume, even if you eat well, healthy, to actually consume the proper things that are best for your body. How would you even do that without eating like an asshole?
It's impossible, and Athletic Greens makes it possible. If you look at the packaging, it says all of the incredible nutrients that it has in it. And yeah, there's no way you would be doing that on your own. It's like you said, it's impossible. But this stuff does make you feel way better. You drink it. I drink mine right when I wake up. It's the first thing that goes in, and you can just feel it throughout the day. I've got more energy. I feel way better. It really is like a superfood in the morning.
AG1, it's why we're big fans. With every daily serving, setting yourself up for success because you got 75 high quality ingredients that give you key daily nutrients and long-term gut health support. It's so easy too. You get a 12-ounce cup glass, put a couple pieces of ice in there. I fill it up with water about halfway. I pour in the powder real quick, and then I fill it up the rest of the way. You stir it real quick, drink it in 2 seconds, and bang, you just get all of that. It's like insane how easy it is and how good for you it is. So a comprehensive solution is what you need from your supplement routine. Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Travel packs are actually amazing because I'm able to throw them in. I actually just throw them in with my little bathroom kit there.
Yep.
And then bang, it's that easy. Go to athleticgreens.com/foreplaypod. That's athleticgreens.com/foreplaypod. Once again, they're giving you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. That's athleticgreens.com/foreplaypod. Check it out. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're joined. The show's coming out Thursday, but we're just about 48 hours removed from one of the coolest tournaments, especially women's tournaments ever. And I'm going to get into that. We've got the champion, the winner from the U.S. Women's Open at Pebble Beach, Allisen Corpuz. I was thinking about it, 2 days ago. You won was probably the biggest women's golf tournament ever. I mean, it had the biggest purse, primetime TV, so one of the bigger TV audiences of all time. Has it been for you, first week coming through one of the bigger tournaments of all time? Has it been kind of bizarre for you to process how big that's been?
Yeah, I mean, my phone's been blowing up. I've never had that happen before. Even right after the final putt drop, just kind of felt like I was doing one thing after the other. Slept 30 minutes that first night, just running on adrenaline and just running around doing things. But I think it's starting to settle in, and yeah, it's just been really awesome.
You mentioned your phone blowing up. I was checking again today. I saw former President Obama tweeted at you, and even to this moment, that's the last tweet that he's put out. So in the last 48 hours, the only thing that he was tweeted was congratulations to you. How cool was that?
Yeah, it's sick. I mean, I've seen him from afar. I haven't really gotten super up close. But yeah, just no words.
So you guys play golf or have played golf at pretty much the same spot back in Hawaii?
Yeah, so actually my parents live on the side of one of the holes at Kapolei, and that's apparently one of the spots that he comes to. I mean, I was saying earlier, Secret Service actually patted me down once, and then they had him way on the other side of the range. And I think they didn't accept tee times for 2 hours before and after him. It was just his group out on the course. And yeah, I was just out there practicing that day. But so I've seen him from afar, but haven't talked to him or anything.
How big was the Secret Service presence? Were there 1 million Secret Service agents at the course?
They were pretty low key. But probably 4 or 5 of them, and yeah, just coming in the big vans. And then it was really funny. They waved the metal detector on my golf bag.
You're like, yeah, that's probably going to go off.
Yeah.
We've been in a few instances where there were presidents or former presidents around, and you're right. They're very good at being low key. So it makes you always wonder, who are you? There's a guy next to you hitting balls in the range. You're like, are you actually a Secret Service guy?
Yeah, so, they come dressed in normal clothes. So
no, it's quite tricky. So, golf tournaments are so interesting to me. When someone wins in the fashion that you did, it's such hyper focus that it requires, and especially the way that you play. They're talking about it a lot during the coverage of controlling the pace that you move, that you walk, trying to, that helps you stick with your routine and your consistency. And you're so hyper locked in that I imagine then when it's over, that's such a juxtaposition from the mindset that you've been in for 4 days, probably longer, and all of a sudden it's just over, and now you get to set. Is it hard to kind of come off of that almost?
Yeah, I mean, I know I've seen a lot of the calm, cool, collected stuff. I can guarantee you that's not how I felt on the inside, even if it seemed like that. And I think this was really the first tournament where just seemed like there was a lot of Hawaii people, Filipino, Koreans, like coming out to support me. Just walking down fairways, hearing people saying my name. That was just so cool. And at the same time, you acknowledge one of them, you kind of have to acknowledge all of them. So trying to stay focused and really, really stay locked in on the golf. But just a really cool experience overall. And like you said, just Pebble Beach being such an iconic venue and having so much coverage. I mean, it was really special.
Yeah, it gets even cooler as a viewer because the technology keeps getting better. That every time they have, the if you go back and you watch Tiger in 2000, it's very cool, incredibly cool. But even now with the drones and the super high def 4K cameras that they've got, and how that presents the coverage, and how you're able to tee off on 7, and they got a drone that flies over you guys. It's probably pretty crazy in real time to try to block all of that out, even of not just the fans, but the fact that it's such hoopla around this event.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, especially the final 2 days, just kind of had a camera like walking with us the whole day. That was new for me. Usually they're a little further away. But no, it was really cool. I mean, I watched some of the coverage like on my off hours. Yeah, just a really special week out at Pebble.
You mentioned earlier that you weren't as cool, calm, collected on the inside as may have looked on the outside. What was the biggest, what was the most stressful or the most inner turmoil moment?
I mean, it just like for me, I tend to play my best golf probably a lot lower on the energy scale that most people do. Like I probably need to be at like a 4 or 5 compared to maybe like a 7 out of 10. So for me, it was really just like, oh, like this is super exciting. Like how do I get back down to the right level and get calm enough to hit the shots? Just kind of had a few moments like that throughout the whole week. I know 7's such a short hole, but just so tough to get that number, especially once it gets windy. Just a few shots like that were a little uncomfortable, I think, at moments were a little tough.
It was interesting watching on 7 because, it's obviously a wedge, 100-yard shot, probably playing less most of the week, but it felt like, and I'm curious, what was sort of your target landing spot? Because it was taking a big bounce despite the fact that you guys were hitting 100-yard shots or so.
Yeah, so the second day I actually bounced it through the green first day I bounced it through the green and made bogey. And so we were trying to be a little more aware of that the next 3 days. I mean, the wind kind of comes down and off your right. So going left, there's actually one picture from Saturday where it looks like I'm aiming out of the green, and it's because I was just having the wind move to the left, which I thought was pretty funny. But no, that final round just kind of took it out the flag, and just if the wind takes it, great. If not, then it's out the flag.
What was your approach on playing the 8th hole? Because I thought the 8th hole, we spoke about it on our first podcast this week, but I thought watching you guys play the 8th hole was so fun for me because it was, when the men play it for the most part, if they're 190 to 220 out nowadays with everything, some of those guys are hitting 7 irons or 8 irons, and it felt like it was a little bit of a throwback. It was a little bit more old school. It was a little bit what I imagined when Pebble was created, what everybody was hitting in, where there are a lot of long irons, hybrids, 7 woods, 5 woods into that green, which is already an impossible shot if you have a 8 iron. So what was kind of your approach? What are some of the clubs you had into 8?
Yeah, hit a 5 wood off the tee every single day. It left me back a little further than I would have wanted to be, but we were always just worried that 3 wood just takes a big bounce and goes through. I mean, everyone saw Jordan hit off that cliff. And
oh, yeah.
This doesn't look like a shot that I would want to recreate. But no, so I think I had 3 hybrids in and then a 6 iron the last day, just because the course just got a little firmer, bounced it out a little further. There was one day that I maybe could have hit 5 wood into it, but going over that green is going to be a really tough recovery. So we just said, play it to the front edge and just snake up and down from there. No, it's a really cool hole in person. I mean, I don't think cameras do it justice. It's just, it's a lot smaller the landing area than it looks like on TV.
Yeah, it definitely is. And if we saw it throughout the entire week watching, like if you miss right at all, you're probably in the drop zone hitting pretty much the same shot again, which is not where you want to be.
For sure.
And then I was so impressed with the back nine on Sunday because, you know, it was tight, pretty tight with a handful of players. And then you're going into the back nine of as iconic of a back nine as you could possibly have, as big of a tournament as you could play in. I believe you birdie 10, you par the next 3. There's some slow play drama that creeps in. What happened with the slow play situation?
Yeah, so honestly, I mean, that's just kind of how golf plays sometimes. Like, you have a tough hole. I mean, 11, we both missed the green. We're both chipping, right? Like, you're just taking a little extra time, just get a little out of position. And I mean, we ended up waiting on 16T, so we obviously caught up. But I mean, just getting put on the clock is never comfortable.
No,
just
never.
knowing. And then 13, that second shot, I backed off once just because the wind, it felt like it died for a second. So they told me that was my one warning, and I would get penalized if it happened again. So yeah, I think it was just really focusing on routines, and I kind of like joked with myself internally, like, hey, if you just make a bunch of birdies, get far ahead, like you get a stroke penalty, you'll still win.
Yeah.
So no, it was just really focusing on trying to play good golf and keep doing the same thing, because I know I'm not a slow player. It just happened to be that one shot that I took a little extra time.
Well, it's incredibly relatable. We've all been there where you're waiting on 9 holes in a row, and then on the 10th hole, your group you're looking for a golf ball or something, and then the marshal happens to come around the corner right at that moment and sort of bitches at you, and you're like, dude, we've been waiting all day. It just happened to happen to you on the back nine of the U.S. Open, so it's a little different.
Yeah, I mean, I know the group in front of us had gotten worn and gotten time, so we were kind of playing catch up as well, because I know they sped up. I don't think we waited too much on the front, but we definitely had them kind of take off on us. So yeah, not the most ideal situation, but definitely made the best of it.
One thing you mentioned, I was watching a couple of your posts around interviews, was that you're not really a leaderboard watcher. You didn't really know what was going on, but I believe you said you accidentally caught a leaderboard at some point in the back nine.
Yeah, I think I've always been more comfortable chasing. So I mean, when I feel like I'm playing really well, I just try not to look, because I'm like, if I see myself in first, like this might be bad. But no, I mean, I birdied 14, 15, and yeah, I think I accidentally saw the leaderboard on 14. And just, it was a really quick glance. Like, I didn't know it was Charlie making the charge. I just kind of saw that I think Nasa at the time was at 6 and I was at 8, and she was tied for second. I did see that. So was just kind of telling myself, like, okay, there's at least 2 strokes. And then birdied 15, which yeah, that was kind of in my head a bit. I was just like, okay, like you just have to get it home.
So interesting to hear you say that, because I feel like if every player that's ever led a tournament didn't know that they were leading the tournament, that the conversion percentage would be way higher, because we always see every time we go and somebody tees off with the lead, or they catch the lead in the back nine, they start to go from for 63 holes they played great, and then all of a sudden the wheels start to come off, where it's like whenever somebody's chasing, for whatever reason, that mentality, they're able to just kind of keep going.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it's so much easier to be aggressive when you're like, okay, like, I need to make up some ground, and then you're kind of just like, oh shoot, like I have a 1-shot lead, like I need to protect this. Like, that's definitely something I've done in the past, trying not to do. I mean, bogeyed 17, but that was just a really tough green to hit.
Yeah. Yeah, it is funny. It's almost like if you have a 20-footer, you'll almost never 3-putt. But if someone says you just need to 2-putt, then that 2-putt becomes way harder.
Yeah, for sure.
What club do you have into 17?
I hit a 5-iron. I just don't think 6-iron would have cleared the bunker, and we hoped that it would hold the green, and it just ended up bouncing through.
Yeah. So the 18th, you're there. You've got, I believe it was a 3-shot lead at the time. You're standing up there on 18, iconic hole, but there is trouble. I mean, we've seen Tiger Woods in 2000 when he hit one out of bounds. You watch Annika hit one left into the ocean in her her Friday round. So it can happen. Was there any consideration to hitting an iron out there? Because you kind of stepped up and just roasted a piercing driver down the left side.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm not on the longer side of tour players, so I would have reached the front edge of the right bunker, but anywhere from the center to like the back of it, I wouldn't have if it had gone right. So no, I mean, that drive looked good to me. I've been hitting the drive for good like all week, so just try not to change the game plan. I'd bogeyed 18 on Friday and Saturdays. I just really wanted a birdier par.
At what point did you think like, okay, I got it?
I think kind of the whole day just felt like a bit of an out of body experience. I mean, too, I had a putt, just it sat on the edge and fell for par. And that usually doesn't happen with my putter. No, and then I think the birdies at 14 and 15, that's when I was kind of just like, okay, like you're in control of the tournament. Just keep playing the way that you've been playing.
So financially, I believe that it's pretty much quadrupled your career earnings, over $2 million for first place. I know that the game's not about money. You guys, you started at a young age. I think you said you started playing at 4 or 5 years old, playing the game for 20 years. Obviously, you love it. Money matters in our society. It allows a lot of things. It allows it. How big is it to collect a $2 million check? Has that hit home yet?
Yeah, I mean, it's life changing. It hasn't really hit yet, honestly. I think you go into a week like the US Open, and it's never really about the money at the end of the day, right? Like, I had a really good year last year, and like financially I'm not struggling. It's definitely a huge bonus. But I wasn't ever on the course thinking like, oh my God, I'm gonna make $2 million. Now that it's happened though, I've definitely been like, oh my God, it's $2 million. But yeah, no, still just kind of trying to let that sit and settle for a bit.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, Sepp Straka this past week, on the PGA Tour, I think he won 1.3 and you won $2 million last week. So it's obviously much deserved. It's such a big tournament. The first ever U.S. Women's Open at Pebble Beach. So it's obviously well deserved. And when I saw that difference, I was like, hell yeah, that's so awesome to go up against that kind of pressure with all the highlights and Michelle Wee playing in her final and Annika and everything going on, and for you to kind of come down the stretch and like I said, birdie 10, birdie 14 and 15 with all the pressure on, with a little bit of drama with some officials and everything else. It was just incredibly gutsy down the stretch. So I was very, very impressed.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So last question is, if somebody's going to go to Honolulu and play golf or schedule a trip, what are a couple key stops they got to make?
Yeah, well, I mean, my parents are on Kapolei Golf Course. Grew up there. Grew up playing Hawaii Prince a lot. If you're going for the views, I haven't been out there, but Kaneohe Clipper, it's right along the ocean.
Okay.
If you can get access to Waialae, that's where they host the Sony Open. And then if you can get access to Mid-Pac Country Club, that's another beautiful course as well. I grew up practicing at Pro Country Club a lot. That's also a really, really beautiful course. And then if you want to make the trip to the North Shore, Turtle Bay has 36 holes out there.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, Hawaii golf is it's on our list. I think we want to do a trip in the next couple of years and get out there and play. And I don't know who doesn't want to go to Hawaii, so I think that'd be a pretty easy sell for our crew. But
yeah,
Allisen,
there's a ton of good courses out there. So
yeah, it looks awesome. Congratulations. It was very cool to watch. Like I said, it felt so momentous watching it, and for you to kind of take it. I know Charlie Hall was charging, and to just stay rock steady and get it done was very impressive. So congratulations.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.